My guest today is Frank D'Agostino. He's a playwright, composer, lyricist, and professional ice skater. And more importantly, he's my friend. In today's episode, he shares with us his inspirational story of how he's become the successful person he is today. Welcome to Lifeology.
Well, thank you so much, James.
I am looking forward to this. I got to meet you a few months ago, and it was funny. I got to hear all these things about you. But when I asked you to be on my show, and then I read everything you've done, I was like, holy moly, I had no idea your expertise. So once again, thank you. I'm really honored that you're on my show today. I was lucky enough to go to a viewing that we're going to talk about one of your Ice Champion plays that you wrote. I got to see the viewing of it, and it's incredible. So first off, I'm talking a lot here, but I wanted to just highlight how impressed I am with all your work. But once again, so thank you. Now, before we get started, though, you have an interesting story. When you were 12 years old, I guess the ice skating found you. Tell us about that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And again, it's been the greatest thing in my life, but literally it found me. They built a figure skating, ice skating rink near my grade school in Albany, New York. And I went one day after school with all the kids, and apparently I just took off. And by the end of the day, the speed skating coach, the figure skating coach, and the hockey coach all wanted to teach me basically for free. So I started, for a couple of months. And then, at one point I knew I was going to have to need more lessons and pay for more lessons and things like that. So, but that's how it started. They chose me. So
it was just really interesting. So you grew up in a family that was perhaps had different viewpoints of what ice skating might be.
Yes,
Tell us a little bit about that from an Italian background. Tell us how that fleshed out for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, my dad was a contractor, developer, very smart and, macho Italian man. And the thought of having a figure skating son, I'm sure, wasn't, in his long-term plan for me. But
sure.
I kept it under wraps, because I loved it. And at one point, about 6 months into it, I came home and I told my parents that I was skating in an ice skating competition in Lake Placid. And, at that point, there was no point of return. And they actually, became proud when they saw, what I could do and the ability that I had. So
how was it for you to tell them though? So if your dad, has this, your background, the Italian family has a certain perception, but
right.
How was it for you to tell them that you had this event? I mean, sure, it's pretty scary.
I wasn't scared because I knew I was good and I knew there was no way they were going to deny it. But, it was a constant journey of push and pull. I was told that, I had to get a undergraduate degree, that I could not, just go into figure skating. Went to college, got marketing, management, engineering. And, when I say it was a process, when I was 21, I had done everything they told me to do. I graduated college with degrees, and I said I was going to go into the Ice Capades. I had auditioned, and my dad said, if you're starving, if there's an emergency, I equate that to you joining the circus. Don't ever step foot in this door again. So like I said, it was a process.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm sure they thought you would grow out of it, especially if you went to university, got all your degrees, and that would, quote, train you to do something perhaps in that field as opposed to the ice skating.
Never grew out of it. And and I know, you can't deny who you are. As much as sometimes parents or friends want you to be something else, you have to be true to yourself. And I had that. And it's interesting because I've listened to a lot of your shows. A lot of people seem to have that at a very young age. They internally, know what they need and want to be. And I always had that. So
yeah. And while you were in school, though, you have this. Your family wants you to be something else. How were you able to just still cultivate your skills as a playwright, as an actor, as all the creative aspects? How were you able to still cultivate that whilst going to education or school?
Well, I had this vivid imagination, and I'd also constantly daydream, and as the boring stuff in class or school was going on, I was thinking of plots in my head or musical lyrics or, just waiting until 2:30 when I could rush to the rink and get my skates on. So I was always able to multitask, thank God. But yeah, I had to have my daydreams. Yeah. So
the first play that you wrote, tell us about that.
I've written 5 musicals, believe it or not.
Wow.
And the first one was slightly autobiographical, which I think most people do for the first time.
Mhm.
And it was about a young man in college, trying to pursue, artistic dreams against, some family opposition, and really loving a young lady very, very much. But at the end of the day, again, he had to tell her he was gay. And the name of the
Mm.
show is called Cravings. And
Hmm.
that's when I first knew I had a power to make people cry and make people
Mm.
laugh. There were moments in the show that are hysterical, and then there were moments in the show when he was coming out to his girlfriend in
Mm.
those big bozo sunglasses. So the scene, like, people were laughing, and then when I looked at the audience, and it was a musical, then I would see tears coming down their
Mm.
faces, and it was so powerful to me to be able to reach people on that level. So that was my first
Did-
show.
That's incredible. I'd love to see any tapes of
Yeah.
that if you have it already, the photography of it. To see that the first time that was produced, to see your story for the autobiographical character, to see that, but then also to see that in public, but then also to see how it moved people. How is it to see that, to experience that? I can't imagine that.
To this day, to watch my characters come to life, because
Hmm.
each one of them is really a piece of me. Like,
Sure.
if I am writing about a skating mother who has dreams and hopes that aren't fulfilled, I can take my feelings of dreams or hopes that haven't been fulfilled, and I can
Mm.
push that into the
Embody that.
character and the lyric. I sort of hide behind my characters. I don't write about me,
Mm.
but they're all me in some way.
Facets
And
of some sort.
then when I see people moved by that, or laugh about that, or cry about that, or on the edge of their seat about that, it's incredible to see these people who are in my head on
Hmm.
stage coming to life. It's just,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm sure. As you continue to grow and develop in your skills and in all everything you continue to do, what motivates you? What inspires you?
it's, again, just an inner need to express yourself.
Hmm.
I'm constantly, stimulated by, everything in the world, fashion, art, beauty,
Hmm.
figure skating, theater, music. I have way too many interests and way too many passions, but I was able to put them all into one with the figure skating musical on ice, Ice Champion. So it took my music, it took my figure skating, it took, my love of theater and everything into, one cohesive
Mm.
show.
Sure,
So
sure.
that's, yeah.
For now, would you say that's like the culmination, not of your career, because obviously you have many more years and many more things to create, but would you say for now that Ice Champion is the culmination of what you've produced thus far?
I think so. Yes. I mean,
Hmm.
I think I have some great shows, and they're all good in their own way.
Sure,
But this incorporates, like I said, everything.
sure.
Characterization, emotion. There's some commentators in it that are, like Johnny Ware,
Mm. Oh,
and
he's in that. That's it.
Tara Lipinski, that go way over the top, and the audience
That's
laugh,
it.
and it's just fun to be able to do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Now I was able to see the kind of a trailer on that. So tell us about Ice
yeah.
Champion.
Okay. So essentially, 45, 50 years ago, Chorus Line,
Mhm.
came to Broadway, and it was revolutionary because it told the story of dancers and behind the scenes of
Yeah.
dancers. And I hadn't actually thought of writing this show. I'd had 4 shows out, and a famous scenic designer, Ray Clausen, looked at my resume, said, "There's the story that's never been told." The old adage, write what you know
Yeah.
about. So
Yeah.
I did a homage to skating, which, turned out to be 3 boys, 3 girls, 6 characters, their journey to the Olympics,
Mm.
the skating moms who push them, sort of like a gypsy kind of element with a Mama Rose,
Mm.
some comedy moments, and the monologues and songs like a chorus line has, except instead of dancing, we actually freeze the stage, and the skater tells their story through their skating instead of dance.
Wow.
So it's quite unique. People
I've
at
never heard of that
first
before.
don't know if it's a skating show, if it's a Broadway
Mm-hmm.
musical, and then it takes. Well, that's why you came to the
Yeah.
preview
Yeah.
to show a video that had skating, acting, and singing because people can't get
Sure.
it.
I've never seen that before. Yeah. Cause I've seen like the escapades, things like that. I've gone to things specifically for the skating, but that's the
Right.
premise of it, skating. And then you see the entertainment, but yours is obviously the culmination. Like I said, that you said it rather, the intersect where all that comes together. Now, if someone goes to see this, so the stage is actually I don't say skating rink, but it's frozen for the actors.
Yeah, no, it's frozen. It's a skating rink. Yeah, it's like a 30 by 40 surface. Yeah.
So not only are they actors, but they're vocalists and also skaters. Yeah. Wow, correct. That's that. How is it to cast that? I mean, that doesn't seem. In my limited opinion or ignorance, rather, I would think that there's not that many options of actors like that.
That's a great question, often asked by many producers. So, technically, you can't really mic a person that's spinning or jumping. So,
it's fair.
I came up with a conceit, which I actually love now, where the singer, actor, and the skater share the part, and they're dressed similarly, and they look similar. Gotcha. So, there's the public persona, which is the Olympian, giving a press conference, an honor to be here at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And then there's the personal persona, which is the skater who says, my coach locked me in the dressing room overnight so I wouldn't eat because I gained 5 kilos. So they share the part. So the skater skates while the singer is singing, and then they share different parts of the monologue, the public person.
Interesting.
And then the thing you would never tell anyone on TV of what your struggles are. So it's your inner self.
Oh, that's so clever.
It wasn't clever. I had to do it. But then I realized by doing it, I could really tell a real story,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
whether it was meant to happen or not, but I mean, it sounds like it's really, once again, something I've never heard before. I mean, to see the juxtaposition between the inner voice and what we see on stage as well. And you know how that is. I know how that is as well. Our front facing aspects for the media is sometimes a little different than behind the scenes as well. So
yeah,
again,
absolutely.
Like another version of what you've learned over your life as well.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be, when I saw it, it looks like potentially it's going to be overseas. It's going to be here in the United States. Sounds like it's going to be, I think it's 6 different locations.
Well, this has really been a journey. Okay, so it's been in regional theaters. It's equity regional professional theaters. We've played at Nassau Coliseum. We've done segments of it at Central Park, Bryant Park, with shout out to Tomas Musical Theater. I used their youth choir group for the opening number one time.
Nice.
Broadway Producing House. So it's definitely been a journey. So this next leg, last reading we did of it, and then possibly Milan for the Olympic Games, and then the goal would be New York and Broadway. We have a whole Broadway team. I mean, I have to pinch myself, the people that I'm working with. So yes. It's incredible. Yeah.
Just, you've heard this, you've said it many times, but to just say it once again, to hear where it was the inception of it, and then to see it produced, and now to hear how it's taking off. How was that for you?
When I was younger, I couldn't enjoy the journey. I had to be here. I had to be on Broadway. I had to win a gold medal. But now I really can enjoy, every little step towards success that I've had. When I have an Olympic champion, Oksana Bayul, who was in my show, many years ago, come up to me and say that this was the best experience, almost equal to her winning the gold medal in the Olympics. I mean, things like that give me goosebumps, so, certainly. I get little validations like that sometime that, now I learn to appreciate the journey. I just went to where we did the concert in Palm Beach last year, a backers audition. And I was shocked. I was at a restaurant and 3 people, I didn't even know they knew who I was. They came up to me and shook my hand and they said, we were at your concert. Oh my God, we love the music from your show. Wow. I was so moved. I mean, like I'm learning to appreciate those things now, and they're so meaningful, you know?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
When, I guess to piggyback off that, when things are going well and things are not going well, how do
Oh
you kind of
gosh.
reset? Because it happens to all of us, life happens. How do you kind of reset and use conversations like this to be able to help you kind of move forward?
You know, it's not easy. I mean, I've had deals just implode, you know, that I'd been working on for a year and a half. Every show takes, you know, that long to plan. And I will be honest. I mean, there are times like I'll close the blinds and, you know, I'll go to bed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but usually I have to take a little rest after something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
really, you have to stay in the game. If you don't
Yep.
stay in the game, then there's no chance of winning, you know, so you just can't quit, you know. And every time I think, you know, I've, you know, reached something that I can't do this anymore, you know, there's too many highs, there's too many lows, then somehow I just put my foot back in. And you know, the last reading, Time Warner Records was there. I didn't know they were there. Rob Shear, very famous record producer, just did Music Man
Yeah.
with Sutton Foster and Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They wanted to do the album. And, you know, like I said, you know, if I weren't staying in the game, how could those things happen? You know, so.
That's right. Is there anything specific you remember that helps you kind of be the catalyst to stay in the game? Any memories, any life lessons at all?
Again, you know, little incremental things, you know, like, you know, things that some of the figure skaters have said to me, like it was the most, you know, exciting experience of their life to, you know, see their lives on stage when Tenley Albright, the Olympic champion, and her daughter come to see my show, when,
Wow.
you know, Oksana Bayul, Olympic champion, when, you know, Yevgeny Platov, who I coach with, a two-time Olympian, you know, come and say to me, like, that's just incredible. So, yeah, I'm not on Broadway just yet. We're on a journey now, like I said, Dubai, Korea. But
Amazing.
I have to appreciate those moments, you know, and that's what keeps me going, you know.
And one thing one of the many things I really appreciate about you is I don't see any hubris. I don't see any arrogance. I mean, yeah, we can joke around. We all do that. But I see you as a very humble person. And I'm really honored by that and appreciate that rather, because it's people, when they get to a certain level of success, they forget where they came from. And when I've hung out with you several times, I've seen your sincerity. I've seen just you being silly. I mean, and I really appreciate that. So, you know, for what that's worth, I appreciate you being real and not necessarily the
Oh,
arrogance type of
well,
person that other people could be.
no, thank you so much. And the same with you. I just, you know, I I don't have tolerance for like people
Yeah.
that say I'm CEO of this. Well, I'm CEO of, you know, two production companies. I never introduced myself as a CEO. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm Frank, you know, and
Yeah.
this is what I do.
Well, also because you do so many things, it's not like you could say, I mean, which title would you pick? I mean, you do so many things as well. One thing I always ask people is, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. I put everybody on the spot. What's different between what age do I want to say? What's different between the person, let's say, who just graduated from college and who you are today? What's different and what's the same between those two people?
Oh, interesting. I think the person that graduated college wasn't quite secure enough to really follow his artistic passion,
Mm-hmm.
but he was so naive and so stupid and so fearless that he did the most ridiculous things. You know, if no one wants to produce my show, hey, I'm going to produce my show. And I would hire a cast, and I would like hire a theater in New York, and I would get reviews. I mean, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just did it. The person now has a lot more confidence and a lot more belief in himself, but also, you know, the fear of, you know, possible failure, you know, and, you know, I've even heard actors, you know, say things like that, like you get to a certain spot, and not that like I'm on that caliber, but
Yeah.
then you have to sustain it. And then you have to, keep that going. Like when I did my concert in February of last year in Palm Beach, I was never so terrified in my life. People
Mm,
know who I am in New York. I can call up any producer, any
sure.
record person, any actor. I've had one of the three Chers in my show. I've had the understudy for Elsa in my show. I've had Olympians in my
Wow.
show. But Palm Beach, they didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
They're like, who's this guy? I I felt like my whole life was riding on that concert, and I never used to be like that, but
Yeah.
it came off well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, obviously, a year later, people are remembering who you are. But it's
Yeah,
interesting though, because even though you're the more secure person now and have a lot more insights into your career, I still think that younger self that was able to be like, oh, I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to do it. I really, I don't, I've really, I find that really endearing. But I think also in that respect, as in Palm Beach, you maybe still had some of that as well. You didn't know what you were doing. So the younger self maybe came out at times, but once again, you were very successful at what you did. So we're still always the same, but we just have more life lessons we get to learn every day.
yes.
We only have a couple more seconds here. Is there,
Okay,
so you're writing Ice Champions, and so we said it's kind of the intersect where all the different things you do come together. What's next
right.
for you, do you think, beyond Ice Champion?
I'm always working on, different songs or different plots. So right now I'm working on updating a show that I absolutely loved. It's just that I've been so busy with Ice Champion,
Yeah.
producing and doing the business end of it that it sort of sucks away from your creativity. So right now, my strict goal is to get that up and then, hopefully bring back some of my other shows. I had one that was in workshop in 2018 at the Players Theater in New York called New York City Streets, which was based loosely on La Traviata in modern day
Yeah.
times, set in dance clubs and things like that. And I'd really like to get back to it, but this show's too important to me to dilute it
Sure.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is divided waters lose force. And so in that,
Oh, I like that.
when we're so creative and
Wow.
we do too many things, all of a sudden we lose the power of the original creative thing endeavor we won't, excuse me. Sorry about that. I got a little choked up there. Divided waters lose force. And so in that, if have too many things that we're doing, that creative aspect is all of a sudden lost because once again, we're doing too many things. So I'm really glad to hear that
Right.
you're not diluting that other project and so are able to just focus on this one thing as well. So depending on
Well,
when my
thank
viewers and listeners hear this, it's Ice Champions will be in production or it'll be in post-production. Where all these people find more about you and more about Ice Champion?
IceChampion.net. We have a full website with character description, plot summary, and there will be the YouTube link now that we've gotten all the rights tied up, and everyone will be able to see the preview that you saw. So thank you for coming to the preview. I really appreciate it. It meant a lot
My
to me.
pleasure.
So.
My pleasure. My viewers and listeners also know that if you can't find any information about this, simply go to the show notes at jamesmiller@lifeology.com, and I'll link you with Frank D'Agostino. Frank, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today, all your creativity. Thank you for what you do in the world. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, James, so much. All right. Have a great day.